So welcome everybody. Welcome to Hot Song Podcast. Today is September the 18th, 2025. And the topic for this evening is still on the seventh eye. This is the fifth talk on the seventh eye. So last week we started to talk about the spiritual side of seventh eye, and we're going to continue on doing that for this evening. Okay, so the seventh eye, just to refresh everybody's memory, the seventh eye, there are two places within the body that takes in energy to feed and expand the seventh eye. One is on the left foot, the sole of the left foot at the top of the arch, which is right around here. This is the left foot. And then the other point is the 0 point, which is roughly around the where the breastplate, which is linking the two sides of our ribs. So at the tip of it, about an inch above that, roughly around that level within our body. So it's not right on the bone itself, it's within the body. It's around that area though. And that's where the 0 point is. The 0 point is where we as a soul in the body enters the body. So it's where we are linked to everyone else and everywhere else. So this is a 0 point, which is a very sacred point. So that is the seventh eye. And the seventh eye, the one on the foot is the more physical side of the seventh eye, and the one at the 0 point is really the more spiritual side of the seventh eye. Even though the seventh eye as a whole is very spiritual, it's more about spirituality than about physical life on earth and how we deal with life on earth. So what's the purpose of the seventh eye? Spiritual is really to dissolve perception, to provide pure knowing. So this is really what the seventh eye spiritual is. It is operating from, it starts to allow us to operate from a non-egoic state. And it allows the individual, the human, to start to transcend the more, I would say, the more mundane side of life. And that's where we start to become less focused on the body and more focused on the truth of who we are, which is a spirit having an experience through the body rather than a body having spiritual experience. So the seventh eye, especially the spiritual part of seventh eye, is about starting to expand that capability that we have to let go of the egoic side. And the most important thing about the seventh eye spiritual is to access a state of non-duality. So that's why I would like to kind of give a bit more talk and definition of what non-duality is, because up until now, most of us have been living in duality. We were born in duality, and we've been raised by, most likely, by parents who are steeped in duality. So for most of us, we think that duality is the norm, whereas it is actually not. duality is, I would say for Earth, for the longest time, we've been in duality, but we are not, duality is actually not natural to a spirit. That's why when we have a body, when we come to Earth, when we come to this human plane to experience duality, we actually have to, there's a lot of conditioning and learning to fit in this mode of duality. And so now let's talk about what is non-duality then. Because non-duality is really central to understanding what the seventh eye spiritual embodies. It is about a state of no ego, and also starting to embrace oneness and going back to universal integration. That's something that is very alien to a lot of us when we say non-duality. What does that really mean? Because we've always looked and breathed in and evaluate our environment with through the lens of duality. So when we say non-duality, it may seem to be an alien concept. So non-duality refers to the concept that everything is actually interconnected, and that what we think of as separation, that, I am separate from you and we are separate from the environment, that we live in separate reality. I would say not really living in separate reality, in that I am separate from you and I'm separate from the environment, is actually something that is not natural. We are actually not separate from each other. We're actually all interconnected. So non-duality is about recognizing this. Now let's go into a bit more detail about what non-duality is. So key aspects of non-duality: oneness of existence. There's really no inherent distinction between self and other. Whether it is individual or the universe, all is one and interconnected, and we're part of a larger whole. So oneness of existence. When we truly understand what oneness of existence mean, then we truly know that what we do to others, we actually do to ourselves, because there is no distinction between others and self. I think a lot of the issues we face within this, I would say, in the world right now, is we believe that we are separate. That's why, we do things to one another thinking that they are not us, so therefore it's okay to do that. It's not, because whatever it is that we do to others, we're actually doing to ourselves. And then the next key concept of non-duality is absence of ego. So ego is your personality, meaning that, Winnie is my ego. So when I think of myself as Winnie, I think of myself as, a certain nationality, a certain ethnicity, a certain age, a certain weight, a certain gender, and all that. A certain look, a certain like or dislike. So that is the ego self. Whereas as a spirit, I also understand that yes, there are things that I like, and there are things, there's a way that I look when I look in the mirror, but that is just the physical part of me. That is just the the body that I'm experiencing this world through. So when I start to get less attachment from how I actually look, less attachment to this body as opposed to other people around me, when I am less attached to it, then I would start to understand more about what oneness is. Because most of the time we are very, we see the world from one point of view, but actually this point of view that we identify as the ego is only it's only a point of view. So the third concept is the unity of all things. Everything is part of the same universal flow, and that there is no need to label or categorize things as being separate. Everything is an expression of the same underlying reality. No opposition or dualistic thought. So duality is based on opposition. So light versus dark, good versus bad, self versus other. So these are just what opposition is. So light versus dark, good versus bad. I think this is something that we, if you look at the world now, is like good, bad. We like to have that distinction. Who is good and then who is bad. But actually, in oneness, there's nothing that is good and nothing is bad. It's just a set of behavior or a set of experiences. And if we just look at things that way and we don't believe in that, or we don't subscribe to the opposition, light versus dark, good versus bad, self versus other. When we look at it that way, we can actually be a lot more, we be able to harmonize with each other a lot more. When we don't think of things as being good or bad, light and dark, then there's a lot more flexibility for light and dark to do the job that it is supposed to do. Because light and dark, they each have a role to play. Just like when you're painting, when you use color to create a painting, it is not whether red is good or blue is bad, or any other things. It's just these colors. They're just different colors, and they are combined in a way to create a painting. So that's when you look at things that way, and it's actually much easier for you to choose the experience that you really want to have and be the last concept I want to talk about is pure awareness. So pure awareness, what does pure awareness mean? Pure awareness is when we just get the information in, when we just look at things as it is, rather than through our own judgment of what is good or bad. So you're just listening to something without any filter. When you have no filter, then you won't term something as being good or bad, or whether something is safe or not safe. So fear does not come in anymore because you know what it is. You see the reality as what it is. And you would be able to find the right way to navigate reality. So that's pure awareness. This may be harder to I would say to come across, because as human being we always evaluate things as being good for me or bad for me, or it is safe for me or not safe for me. So when we listen to things, that is what we very unconsciously would filter. We would look at things that is we would look out for things that's good for us, and we try to avoid things that's bad for us. And so we don't really see things as what it actually is. We have our thoughts and judgments and labels to distort the reality that we see. So these are the key aspects of what non-duality is. I just want to, before I go any further, I just want to ask for any suggestions, feedback, questions before I continue.
No questions.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay. So, great. So this is all nice and easy to talk about. What does this feel like? So that's why I just want to have a method, a practice, so that you can, should you all want to, or should any of you want to, there's I'm going to introduce a few practices that you can start doing. Should you want to have more experience of what non-duality feels like and how that works. So first practice, really to facilitate pure awareness and presence. Okay, so just I'll just go over it first, and then we can have an experience together. So the practice is to just sit in a quiet place, close your eyes, and begin by focusing on your breathing. And as you breathe, allow your thoughts to start to dissolve without any judgment, and simply observe your thoughts as they come up, and then let them go. Okay, so let's just do a short experience of this. Hang on, actually, let me just